Hey, Center Point friends and family. We're so glad you got to join us again. I'm here with my friend Bob Perry, who has an extensive background in apologetics and including a master's degree. So we've been in a series of conversations about evidence for our faith, which is basically what apologetics is. And so last time we talked about the cosmological argument for the existence of God. Now we're going to talk about the teleological argument for the existence of God, which is my favorite.
Yeah, it's everybody's.
That's right.
Yeah, teleological sounds like another big fancy word. All it means is it comes from the Greek word telos, which means the where something's going.
Yeah.
The destination, the purpose for.
Purpose. Yeah.
So that's what the teleological argument is, and it's basically it says that the universe looks like it was designed with man in mind. So there's all these features of the universe that have to be just the way they are for us to be here. In fact, it was atheistic scientists who called what all these factors that they found about the universe the anthropic principle. That's another Greek word, anthropos, which is man. That it looks like the universe was centered on, or the purpose of it was man.
Oh, yeah, so that's cool.
It's pretty amazing stuff. And this, I mean, there are all kinds of great videos and books that you can read about this stuff. My favorite is, it's kind of old now. It probably could be updated. It's called The Privileged Planet. There's a great book by Jay Richards and got an astronomer named Guillermo Gonzalez.
Oh, I like Guillermo.
It's a really good book, and they put a video out about it. It's just mind-boggling.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of evidence.
The Privileged Planet. What a cool title.
Right.
Yeah, it's a neat title.
And there's another one called Rare Earth that is actually written by two atheist scientists that comes to the exact same conclusion. So that's what's really cool about this. This is something this isn't just Christians making up stuff about, oh, God designed the universe. It's measurable.
Yeah.
We can go out there and see this stuff.
Too much makes sense. And it all adds up, what these guys are essentially saying, to where it's designed, it feels like.
Right.
It's designed for our existence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a guy named Hugh Ross who has a scientific apologetics ministry out in LA, he started his organization 30 years ago, I think, and he comes out with these new reasons to believe is the name of his organization. He comes out with these new evidences almost every day. Things that we find in the universe. And his count, the last I saw, I kind of kept keeping track, to be honest with you. It was like over 600 factors that have to be just the way they are for life, not just for us to be here, but for life to be as sustainable and for the universe to even be the way it is.
For the temperature to be right, for the air that we breathe, for all those factors that are just teetering on one little difference, and poof, we couldn't exist.
And the analogy I like that people have used is to think of a wall with a bunch of hundreds of little dials for all these different factors, like the weight of a proton, the spin of an electron, the relationship between the electromagnetic force and the gravitational force, the nuclear force in the center of an atom, all these things. Each of them have to be fine-tuned, is the term they use, to a certain point. And you have hundreds of these knobs on a wall. They're all fine-tuned to exactly where they need to be. If you go up to that wall and change one of them, no life anywhere in the universe.
Yeah.
So it's mind-boggling. And just to give an example, the force of gravity is fine-tuned to a point, and this is just hard to even comprehend, but if you imagine a ruler that's stretched across the entire known universe, which people measure to be about 13.8 billion light years across.
Yeah.
That's a long way. So you have this ruler that's stretched across the entire universe, and there's a slider in there on this ruler that you can put anywhere from 0 to infinite as what the force of gravity, the strength of the force of gravity is. So that little slider is on there. Across the entire length of the universe, if you move it 1 inch, no life anywhere in the universe.
Wow.
There's another factor. Now this is funny because I talked the last time about Einstein's cosmological constant.
Yes.
Well, it turns out there is a cosmological constant, but it's a factor that is stretching the universe, and we don't really know what it is, but we know it's there. The cosmological constant, if the universe spreads too quickly, things can't form. They won't stick together. If it forms too slowly, everything just gloms back on itself. So it has to stretch at exactly the right rate.
Wow.
That factor is fine-tuned to 1 part in 100 million, billion, 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 billion. I didn't even know how you.
I've heard marathon runners that have chalked that far, but it's to that degree,
right?
Of sensitivity.
So when you take that,
it's a lot of zeros.
A lot of zeros. When you take that gravity and just those two factors, and I remember I said there's probably 50 values of forces that have to be the way they are. But when I say this 600 number, that's relationships between things and positioning of things and all that. When you put those two together, the chances that it would be exactly the way it is 1 part in 100 million, trillion, 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 trillion.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
That is crazy.
Now, so
it's impossible to even wrap your mind around the sensitivity of that. Yeah.
And so what they do when the atheists or skeptics who don't want to admit that the universe is designed, this is what they say. This is the leading answer today for the anthropic principle is this, that there are an infinite number of universes and we just happen to be in the one that got it right.
Oh, gotcha.
Now do you find anything sketchy about that?
Yeah.
They accuse us of operating on blind faith.
Yeah.
But yet, how do we know that there's an infinite number of other universes? The definition of our universe is what we can detect. So there was no way, even in theory, in principle, that we could ever detect these other universes. Yeah. But they claim they have to be there to explain the fine tuning in this.
Wow.
It's pretty powerful evidence. In fact, Richard Dawkins actually kind of admitted that this was over the top evidence that they can't really explain, especially when you get into biology.
Right.
And I'll just mention that a little bit. The life itself, the amount of information in the DNA molecule that is part of and controls every part of life at every level is mind-boggling too. In each cell in your body, there's a string of DNA that if you stretch it out would be about 6 feet long.
Wow.
Each one of those contains enough information to write the code for the 20,000 proteins in your body. And when you think of it that way, the amount of information that that DNA molecule can hold is enough to write the DNA code for every protein that has ever existed in every animal species and every book that has ever been written by any human being in one strand of DNA. Now, the way they get around that one, and this is where Richard Dawkins kind of went off the wall a little bit, is somebody asked him, I think it was Ben Stein asked him, how do you explain this? And he goes, well, I think what would have to be is some super intelligence somewhere else in the universe created this and then sent it here. It's a theory called Panspermia. Yeah. That life was seeded here by someone outside.
Somebody outside this universe.
But what's the problem with that one?
Well, you still have to.
Where did that
come
guy
from?
Yeah, where did this crazy smart alien come from? Somebody had to design that life.
And how did he get so smart?
So that's the teleological argument. We could go on and on about the design in the universe, but it's an overwhelming evidence that there's a mind, that a very caring, careful, methodical, reasonable mind behind the universe that put all this stuff together so that we could be here.
It designed it just for us. I think that's amazing. It speaks to, you mentioned that, we'll get to this a bit later, but the care and beauty of creation, including, and all this was for us,
right?
For His glory, obviously, but we get to enjoy it.
Exactly.
That's super cool.
Cool stuff.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us for the teleological argument, and we are excited to continue as we look into some of where these arguments and evidences overlap with our faith and help support it, so that we can gain confidence in our faith as well. So, thanks for joining us. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to email us with those. We'll be happy to try to engage those. But Bob, thank you for covering this for us.
My pleasure.